The curtains had just fallen. Applause thundered around me, but I heard nothing. I stood frozen under the stage lights, my breath shallow, my heart stuck somewhere between my throat and my stomach. Behind me, the children's choir beamed, their young faces glowing with pride. But it wasn't them I was looking at. It was him. Conductor Julian Merrick stepped into the light, arms wide, bowing as if he were the savior of music itself. The audience roared louder. I stood there, inches away, my palms clenched so tightly my nails had broken skin. His hand brushed against my back, subtle, casual, rehearsed, and I flinched. He turned his head slightly, lips curling just enough for me to see. That smile. I'd seen it too many times in the rehearsal room years ago, twisted into something darker when no one was watching. I wanted to scream. Instead, I bowed. The crowd rose. Parents, alumni, town officials, all on their feet for the maestro. I caught eyes with a small girl in the front row of the choir. Her smile faltered. There was something there. Quiet panic. Familiar. She glanced at Julian, then at me. She knew. I barely made it off stage. In the wings, I grabbed the wall to steady myself. My stomach turned. I hadn't seen him in over a decade. Not since I'd run. I had told myself I could face this, that I was ready. I wasn't. "Mateo," he said, voice like silk soaked in vinegar. "You've really grown into yourself." I turned. He was too close, still wearing that smug air of sanctity. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to disappear. I wanted everything all at once. "Didn't think you'd come back," he said. "I didn't come back for you." He laughed softly, brushing imaginary dust off his tuxedo. "Of course not. You came back for the children. Always the noble ones. Funny, though. You look at them the same way I used to look at you." That broke something. I walked past him without a word, my shoulder colliding with his. I heard the hiss of his breath as I left, and it gave me a small, sick satisfaction. In the hallway, the girl from the front row was standing alone by a vending machine, jacket clutched tight. Her name tag read Emily. I crouched beside her. "You okay?" She looked up, her eyes wide and unblinking. "He yells at us when the doors are closed. Not like real yelling, like scary, quiet yelling. He says he can see inside us." I nodded slowly, my throat tight. She asked, "Did he yell at you too?" I couldn't answer. But I didn't have to. She nodded like she already knew. "He said if I mess up again, I'll never sing again," she whispered. And there it was. The rot was still alive. I stood up slowly, my hand against the cool brick wall. "I'll take care of it," I said. She looked confused. "How?" My voice came out flat. "By doing what he never thought we would." I left the auditorium through the side door into the night air, sharp with late autumn cold. The silence was violent after the concert's noise, and I welcomed it. My thoughts raced, tangled, but one thing was clear. He hadn't changed. Julian Merrick was still the same predator dressed as a patron saint. Back at my apartment, bare, temporary, barely lived in, I sat with my old notebooks, dog-eared pages of compositions, some crossed out in anger, others stained with the ink of too many redos. Buried among them was the letter I wrote to myself when I fled this town at 17. I unfolded it. "Leave now. Don't look back. Don't ever forget what he did." I hadn't forgotten, but I had hoped, idiotically, that maybe the world had made him irrelevant. Instead, he had grown roots, built a legacy, and no one had stopped him. Not even me. I opened my laptop and searched for familiar names. It took hours, but I found them, 4 people scattered across cities and careers. All of us had passed through Julian's choir. All of us had left suddenly. No goodbyes, just vanished. I started with Ava. Her voicemail picked up and I nearly hung up. Then, "Hey, Ava, It's Mateo from St. Cecilia's. I'm back in town, and I think you'll want to know why." She called back the next day. "You really saw him?" "Last night. He hasn't changed." There was a long pause, then a low, shaky breath. "I still dream about that room." So did I. We talked for an hour. Then I called Devin, then Marcus, then Claire. They remembered everything. We spoke cautiously at first, our adult voices still unsure how to name what had happened. But the stories lined up. The psychological taunts, the shaming, the manipulative games disguised as mentorship. Each of us had worn our silence like armor. Now it cracked. Ava said, "We need proof, or no one will believe us." Devin added, "He's too smart to get caught with words." I knew what had to be done. "There's a way," I said, "but we'd have to go back in, all the way." Claire, always the quiet one, replied, "You have a plan?" Not yet. But I knew someone who could help. That night I met with Iris Bell. We'd crossed paths years ago at a music therapy conference. She was a documentarian now, obsessed with truth. Quiet in the way people are when they've seen too much. I told her everything. She sat through it all, nodding once in a while, recording nothing yet. Then she leaned forward. "If we do this," she said, "you'll need bait, something Julian won't be able to resist." "We start a choir," I said. She raised an eyebrow. "A fake one, community-based, filmed as a local youth project. We let him think it's his moment, and then we let the cameras roll." It was reckless. It was dangerous. It was everything he'd never see coming. I closed my eyes, seeing Emily's face again, her small shoulders braced for the same war I had fought in silence. This time I wasn't running. The room we rented for rehearsals was small, old, the walls lined with faded photographs of forgotten performances. I stared at the piano in the corner, its keys yellowed like teeth. It felt like a trap already, even though it was ours. Ava arrived first. She looked different, older, obviously, but there was something in her eyes that made her seem lighter. Until she stepped into the room. I saw her shoulders rise just a bit. The air got heavier. Marcus and Devin followed, then Claire. None of us spoke at first, just stood there, awkward adults holding the same childhood memories between us like a live wire. "We're really doing this," Ava said. "No turning back," I replied. The kids came next. Iris had recruited them through a casting call for a youth music documentary, all local, all innocent. None of them had ever heard the name Julian Merrick. That was crucial. We rehearsed for weeks. Not just the music, we choreographed the deception. Iris rigged the room with hidden mics and cameras. Devin helped train the kids to act out subtle mistakes during rehearsal. Ava kept track of Julian's public schedule. He was still hosting master classes, giving interviews, grooming his legacy. Then, like clockwork, he heard about us. He showed up to one of our open rehearsals with his fake humility and shark smile. Iris, disguised as our project producer, played her role to perfection. Julian watched the children perform, offered praise that barely hid his critique, and turned to me with theatrical delight. "You've truly come full circle, Mateo," he said. "Only the beginning," I told him. He offered to guest conduct for a final performance, a gala event, the kind of thing he lived for. We pretended to hesitate, let him feel like he was convincing us. I saw it in his eyes. He thought he was winning. The rehearsals with him were exactly as we remembered. Behind closed doors, he tore the children down under the guise of discipline. He whispered venom in their ears, played them against each other, demanded silence. He moved through the room like a spider, spinning webs. We caught it all. One night, after a brutal rehearsal, I found Claire in the hallway, shaking. He told Emily she was dispensable, that if she didn't fix her tone, someone else would take her solo. I didn't ask if we got it on tape. I knew we had. I went home that night and locked myself in the bathroom. I looked in the mirror for a long time, searching my own face for the kid who used to cry after rehearsal, trying to hide bruises that weren't visible. I couldn't find him, not anymore, but I found someone else, someone who could finish what that kid started. Still, I was breaking, slowly, quietly, like something inside was unspooling too fast. The night before the performance, I almost called it off. I stood outside the venue with my phone in hand, thumb hovering over Iris's number. Then I saw Julian arrive early, strutting across the lot in his pressed coat and arrogant grace. I knew. It was too late to back down. The cameras were already rolling. I didn't sleep the night before. None of us did. The morning of the performance felt like the seconds before a crash, inevitable, electric. We gathered backstage under the guise of a final prep meeting. Iris, clipboard in hand, reminded everyone of the protocol: cameras hidden, microphones active, no deviations. Julian walked in like he owned the air. "You've done well, Mateo," he said, clapping me on the shoulder. "They're almost ready." Almost. The auditorium filled quickly. Parents, teachers, former students. A local councilwoman even showed up. Julian's invitation, no doubt. This wasn't just a concert to him. It was a coronation. I stood in the wings watching the crowd settle. Iris moved among them with her crew, disguised as volunteers and tech staff. They were calm, professionals, but I could see the tightness in their faces. Backstage, Ava adjusted a microphone on one of the boys. Claire helped Emily with her dress. Devin was pacing, silently mouthing lines. His solo piece was the emotional climax of the performance. He hadn't sung publicly in years. The lights dimmed. Applause erupted. And Julian took the stage. He looked radiant in his black suit and white tie, arms outstretched as if welcoming the heavens. The children filed in behind him, their faces composed. But I saw the tension in their jaws, the way their eyes flicked toward the cameras they couldn't see but knew were there. The first half of the concert passed like a dream. Julian directed with theatrical finesse, his gestures wide, loving, manipulative. The children obeyed perfectly. Too perfectly, not a single mistake. He began to sweat. That wasn't part of the plan. He wanted a reason to belittle, to tighten control, but we hadn't given him one. Intermission, 10 minutes. Backstage, he confronted me. "They're over-rehearsed," he hissed. "Where's the emotion?" "It's coming," I said. He stared at me, searching for something. Maybe fear. Maybe the boy he used to control. He didn't find either. The second act began. This was Iris's cue. During the final movement, just before Devin's solo, the auditorium's screens flickered to life. At first, just static. Then footage. A hidden camera view of Julian backstage, his voice a sinister whisper. "You will never make it if you keep crying. Do you understand me?" Gasps. Audible. Another clip. "No one cares about your feelings. I can replace you in minutes." Julian froze mid-conduct. His hands dropped. The choir, confused, faltered, then stopped. Devin turned to face the audience. His voice cut through the silence. "My name is Devin Holloway. I was a student under Julian Merrick from 2003 to 2006, and this is what he did to us." The screen switched again. Claire, Avenue Marcus, each giving testimony, each detailing years of emotional abuse, degradation, manipulation, one by one. The room imploded. Screams, parents standing, teachers covering their mouths, the councilwoman rising, demanding order. Julian staggered back, pale, his mouth moving without sound. I stepped forward. "You said no one would believe us," I said, my voice echoing through the mic. "Let's find out." Security approached. Julian tried to speak, tried to command the room. But the spell had broken. He was no longer the maestro, just a man drowning in the truth. After the crowd cleared, After the cops came and left, after the press circled like vultures and the cameras were shut off, I stood alone in the empty auditorium. The lights were still warm, the chairs all faced forward. The stage was quiet. Julian's baton lay where he dropped it. I walked up the stairs, picked it up, held it between my fingers. Then I snapped it in half and let the pieces fall.